Hi, this is Dorothy with Scrapbooking, and this is another card that we're going to make. This is still using the Atlantic Card Sketch Challenge number 521, with a different take on it. And I'm also using the Color My Heart Color Dare for the colors. And so this is how we're going to do it. So I cut a piece of white cardstock at 5 by 3 3/4, and I'm going to use this stencil that kind of looks like ivies to me. Unfortunately, the stencil is not available anymore, but if you have something like it in your stash, you could just use whatever stencil you've got. So I'm using Rosemary, Harbor, and Peach are the colors from the Color Dare Challenge. And so I'm going to try to put this right in the middle of the cardstock, the white cardstock. And the first one I'm going to do is Peach. And I'm going to use my sponge dauber, the finger dauber, and try to get that peach to go right down the center. That's kind of my idea in my head. So I'm just trying to get everything centered up here, because I do want that peach going down the center. So just gonna ink up my sponge dauber, and you can either dab it like this, in which case you kind of get a kind of a pointillism look, kind of little bitty dots, or if you rub it like this, then you get a real smooth look. So I'm kind of going for the smooth look for this, just because. I mean, you can use whatever kind of, it's a matter of your making texture, whether you're using dotting it or rubbing it to get it smooth. It's making texture. So the next one is going to be Rosemary. So I'm going to put Rosemary on either side of the peach. And this is a pretty strong color to be going right next to such a light color. But it actually, I don't know if that helps emphasize the peach with this color being so intense. I do like it though. It's kind of a dark green with some gray in it. So it's a little bit grayish and dark greenish. So once again, I'm going with the same kind of idea of going for the smooth rather than the dotted texture. It's not really dotted. I don't know how to explain it, but it's kind of a sponged type texture where you get, some little spots. So the second, I'm going to keep my little daubers to go separate, so in case I need to go back to them. Next color is this Harbor, and this Harbor is just kind of an interesting color in itself. It's very dark. It looks navy with the color of the ink on the front of the pad, but when you put it down, it almost has a teal look to it. So, but if it's a teal, it's an extremely dark teal, and it definitely reminds me of my senior banquet dress that I was not supposed to buy another dress because I already had one, and that Mom got for me. And this one, my girlfriend and I decided to go into New York City just for the fun of it. And we went to Saks Fifth Avenue, and they had this gorgeous teal blue, light teal on the bottom and dark teal velvet top. And it was $18, and it was like so much money, but that was 1968. If you can imagine, you could get a semi-formal dress in Saks Fifth Avenue for 18 bucks. My mother was not happy with me when I got home. I'm just saying. She was not pleased, but I really liked my dress. I don't know how I got out of the one when I think about that. Oh, she was so mad at me. But I was doing a lot of babysitting, and I think I had even a little job. But I did babysitting. I did do babysitting. And I did buy my own clothes. So anyway, but she may have bought me that semi-formal dress. Oop! Sorry, Mom. So I am going to put some, I edged it in the harbor just to kind of finish off that edging. I don't like I like the edges to have just a little bit of a finish to them. So I'm going to go ahead and fold my card. These are pre-made, pre-scored 4¼ by 5½ inch cards. And it's going to get tomboed also, good and plenty. And then I'm just lining it up to totally cover the front of that A2 card. So it's a pretty color combination. It's not a color combination. I'm going to edge in peach here to kind of try to make that white edge go away. But yeah, it's not a color combination that I would put together. There's no way I would come up with those 3 colors, but I do like the way it looks. And I like using the peach cardstock around the edge because the peach needed some support for sure. So I'm using another one of those rectangle die cuts. I wish they still had those because it's really nice to have those handy to put your sentiments on for your cards. So there you can also, they would really be good for making journaling spots on your scrapbook pages. So I went ahead and punched out, you see all of those thin cuts this is called Floral Blooms, the Stampin' Thin Cut set. Loaded, just loaded with, I'm trying to get rid of some of the ink that I've managed to get all over the place. This is why you have a craft mat, which I didn't use. Anyway, there's all sorts of florals and leaves, all different kinds of leaves and different kinds of florals. And so you can get a lot of use out of this particular Stampin' Thin Cut set. So these are the 4 pieces that I picked out, but I actually, when I use my, what is that called? The die cutter from Close to My Heart, I put 2 layers of cardstock in and cut 2 pieces at a time. So it's definitely a wonderful cutter, but that's the die cutter from Close to My Heart. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp this one in rosemary because it's mostly leaves and stems. But fortunately, there's a little outline of a flower on top there, and that's where I'm going to color in peach. So there we go. Kind of strikes me how dark that green is. That's good. It's fine. Put it back. And then I love this one, kind of like a little pine or fir. I really like this one. So it just stamps so nicely. I find that the thin things have a tendency to stamp better than the large area type stamps. So that just came out great. But I got a little smudge of green on my flower, so wasn't watching what I was doing. Now this little berry one is going to be done in Harbor. So for no reason, just because I'm carrying the color theme throughout. I do like the Harbor though. Okay, so I pressed it down real good. It's nice little berries. And what happened? The second one is there. See, that was so lined up that I couldn't even tell that there were 2 there. But so there I've got my little Harbor berries, and put him back. And then I think that this is the flower no, that one's too big. That's the flower that I wanted. But that's okay. I'll just use this other one that's slightly smaller. And I'm going to stamp that in peach. And I'm going to ignore that little smudge of green because I'm going to cover it up, because that's what you do in scrapbooking and card making, is when you make a boo-boo, you cover it up. That's what I do. Okay, so I'm going to get a good amount of ink on there. I didn't season it first, so I'm getting ink on my skin because I'm silly. So the only thing with this peach is it wants to kind of bead up pretty quickly. You see how it's kind of spotty there? So you can kind of huff on it to spread the ink out again. I'm just going to go ahead and do a second stamping. And it's not perfect, but that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put my stamps back. It's easy to lose stamps, especially when they're small, which these aren't particularly small, but I have lost one stamp in all my years of stamping, and I don't want to do it again because it really aggravated me. Okay, so I'm going to put thanks so much, so it's over in the corner there, and then the flower and the leaves can go on the other side. So, and I'm going to stamp it in Harbor because it's definitely a very strong color. Put my little spongy thing down, wipe up some of the excess ink, and it really comes out very good. There we go. So this is a thank you stamp. I mean a card. So I'm going to just kind of figure out, move these around a little bit, just like I did on the last card I made. I am going to pop it up with these little pieces that are leftovers from windows, from shaker windows. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those. And I know that this flower is going to go down over here. And then these are going to go hither and yon around like that. Maybe with the blue in between, something like that. Anyway, that's what we're going to do here. So the fact that I popped up the big flower, that means I can tuck things down behind it. And I'm going to make my little peach blooms on top of this thing. I didn't get enough ink in there. It's a little bit. It really works better if you just give it a really good squeeze. There, a little bit more color came up. And I'm just going to paint them with my water brush. Super easy. I was just glad that they had some an outline of the flower so I could put some color on it instead of it being all one color. So there we go. Excuse me. I'm kind of liking the way this looks. Get my Tombow down there again. Yeah, I like that background. I'm kind of happy with that. I'm kind of happy with the colors. Thank you, Color Dear. Okay, these are going to get all glued up. Ginger was howling. I had to go check on her. So if I cover that one on top and then put these behind, then I've got my boo-boo handled, and I kind of like things going up and down. So this is what we're going to do. I'm good. I really do like that fur thing. Okay, and then I'm doing my little flowers here. And that's going to come across like that. And then my harbor berries Gonna get tucked under, just like that. So that's basically my card right there. But I kind of decided I liked using the, I'm going to put a little flower on the back side here. And I'm going to do it in peach. And this little outline flower, it's teensy. So it doesn't show up very much. So it's just a real little hint of, this is what I call my hallmark mark. I do like to mark the backs of my cards to just kind of let people know that, I mean, I guess they know they're homemade, but this kind of nails it. And then I'm going to add a sentiment on the inside saying just a note. And I'm going to, I kind of didn't know what to do, so the only thing that came up was note. If I have a thank you note, I'm going to be writing in it, so I'll just put just a note in there as if they couldn't tell it was a note. And that's going to be in it can either be in, can be any of the colors actually. There we go. That just looks finished now. And I can write all around that if I want. So the last thing I wanted to do, well, I hadn't done anything. I haven't made an envelope for either the last card I made. So I really need to make envelopes. I like to add some element from the front of the card and add it to the envelope. So I will be doing that. But I want to use some more of my thread because I don't even know if they're selling this thread anymore. I'll have to look. I'll make a link to it below if they do. But I wanted to use a big hunk of it, and I'm using silver instead of gold. Used gold on the last one, and I'm going to use silver. And I'm making this a really big loop by going around 4 fingers. So I'm just going to kind of pop it under and have it come out on either side. So, and it can go every which way. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not meant to be perfect. That I'm going to just kind of fray the end and cut it off. There we go. And that thread doesn't get in the way when you put it in the envelope. So it's just so fine that you can just kind of cram it in there and it's not a big deal. But I kind of wanted some more because I really like this stuff. And so I'm making, this one is just going to be a 2-finger loop. And you see how easy that takes out, just putting it between your fingers, and you take out all the kinks in it. So it's just so, it's so nice to work with. It's just so nice to work with. So I'm just going to make a little tiny loop to go up here under the flower. And just kind of catch it under there and just, see, it's just a little hint of something. Just a little bitty hint of something. Add a little bit more Tombow, kind of keep everything in place. And there we go. So I don't think it overwhelms the card, but because it's so fine. So I'll put the little bit of remaining left, and here I go. There's my card, and I'm just about ready to get my envelope. I'm thinking I've got ink all over my backdrop there. I thought I cleaned it better than that. Apparently not. So I'm just going to pick out one of the flowers and do it. I wish I'd think about these things before I stuff everything back in the envelope. So I'm trying to, that one's, what to do. I'll use the one that I wanted to use to begin with. I love this flower. Normally I do second generation, on the envelope, but peach is really too light to do second generation. So you kind of have to go with it full blown. Just missed a little piece there, but that's okay. That's because I didn't put the sponge down. You see the difference the sponge makes. That's what I say. You always get a much better impression when you use that little sponge or the back side of the Versamat. That's really a good thing to use. Now I'm using the little fur, and I thought I was doing second generation. There we go. Here's second generation. Because it's dark enough that it can handle. You still get an image with second generation. And I'm going to do one more because too much is not enough. And pull out the peach again. And just kind of do an overlap right there. So there we go. Now we're all done. I've got my envelope, I've got my card, I've got my little Hallmark logo on the back, and put a sentiment on the inside and the outside, so I'm set. And now I'm just going to put my floral blooms back in the envelope. And if you don't have a good die cutter, consider getting the one from Close to My Heart, because we've got a pressure knob so you can add pressure to it and you get a great cut. I'm telling you, I used to hand punch out all the little bitty pieces from like the lace thin cuts, and with this thing they just fall out. So I'm telling you, it's the best one that I've ever used. Okay, here's my card. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye now.
Hi, I'm Dorothy Smith. Thanks for watching my video, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel and learn along with me. Thanks. Bye-bye.